Baba Anuika, the sweet grandma serial killer. The serial killer, known as Baba Anuika, must have seemed like little more than a sweet old lady who was always ready to help her neighbors. Besides her generosity, she was also known for her healing potions, which she sold throughout her village. As a widow who lived to be 100 years old, it was only very late in her life that Baba Anuika's true identity was revealed. Behind her grandmotherly facade, it turns out that she was a serial killer who used her knowledge of herbology to help dozens of village women murder their husbands. Unfortunately, there is not a whole lot of information available for Ona Dipistanja, the woman who would come to be known, alternatively, as the Witch of Banat, the Witch of Vladimirovac, or more affectionately, Baba Anjuka, due to the dearth of evidence. We can only guess why a woman who was financially stable and with a family of her own turned into a serial killer with one of the largest death tolls in history. Still, a look at her early life does provide some interesting clues as to why she went from herbalist to a... However, things in her personal life were not so rosy. When she was 20 years old, she fell in love with a young Austrian military officer who infected her with syphilis and left her soon after. Later on, she tried her luck with an older man, whom she ended up marrying and having 11 children. With her, it was after her husband died that Ona Dipistanja began to gradually become the serial killer, Baba Anuika. She opened up a laboratory in her home and created her own concoctions, which she sold to her neighbors. Anna was incredibly smart. She taught herself 5 languages, and in her laboratory, she earned good money selling potions to ailing villagers. But her fame as a healer would eventually be eclipsed by her notoriety as a killer. Her first poisonings began with military men who wished to avoid service. She sold these men a concoction that was specially designed to make them just sick enough to avoid being conscripted, while not killing them, but her most valuable service, at least for the customers who purchased her mixtures. When one of these women entered Anna's lab, she would ask them, "How heavy is that problem?" This served as both a kind of code and a very literal question. What she really meant was, how heavy was the man who was going to be her victim? From there it was up to the customer to administer the poison. In this way, Baba Anuika killed at least 50 people, and up to as many as 150. It was only decades later that she was finally apprehended. It turns out that there were quite a few women in Vladimirovac who wanted their husbands dead. One woman, Stana Momirov, went to Baba Anuika at least 3 times to purchase her famous love potions. The first time was for her first husband. Satisfied with the result, she then went back after Rema. This was in 1929, by which time Baba was already an old lady of 90 years old. She tried to deny that she had ever sold poisons to women, but her customers, including Momirov, argued that they had had no idea that what they were buying was poison. The trial ended with a guilty verdict and Baba Anuj. But if her victims and their families had wanted justice, It is very doubtful that they ever felt satisfied with the outcome of the trial, you see. Baba Anuika may have been given a life sentence. But how much does that mean to a 90-year-old? What's more, Baba Anuika didn't live out the rest of her. She was a serial killer, after all. She was at least indirectly responsible for the deaths of dozens of people. But she was also helping to address a very real problem that many women faced. Marriages that were often arranged and from which they had no recourse to escape. Baba Anuika was a killer. It was a horror story from Serbia if you like this video. Please follow and leave a like. See you in the next video.